AviationPros.com is the portal website for AMT, Airport Business, and Ground Support Worldwide magazines. Visit daily for breaking news, industry blogs, and insightful articles from our magazine's editorial team. And don't forget to sign up for our publication's daily e-newsletters. It's all at AviationPros.com.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Aviation Pros podcast. I'm Josh Smith, editor of Ground Support Worldwide, and I'm joined today by Connor Hart of Unifi Aviation's Calgary International Airport location. The reason we're speaking with Connor today is the Unifi Aviation YYC team was recently awarded the 2024 Ground Support Team of the Year award. So let me start by saying thank you for joining the podcast and offering you and your team, Connor, one more sincere congratulations on winning this year's honor.
Thank you, Josh. Pleasure to be here, and obviously thrilled to receive this award in Calgary.
For our listeners who maybe aren't aware, the purpose of the Ground Support Team of the Year award is designed to spotlight the hard work teams like Unifi YYC contribute to our industry. So, Connor, with that team concept in mind, can you share some of the qualities your team members possess that allow you to be so successful at that Calgary station?
Yeah, for sure. I think a big part of our team's vision is putting themselves in the shoes of the guest. We've all flown, we've all been there. We know what it's like for your bag to not show up when you get there on a trip, and the battle that ensues there, and obviously the brand hit for the airline as well as the handler. So the passion of the team, it's more times than not, it's telling the team to slow down and really get aligned to make sure we're going forward in the right direction. But the passion is certainly unmatched. We know where we were prior to taking over Calgary. It's not lost on us that this is Canada's second largest airline in their largest hub. This is very impactful to our friends, our neighbors, etc., fellow Canadians. So we need to make sure that we're doing our best to make sure that people are going on time and they have their bags, and at the end of the day that we're providing a safe product. Obviously, pretty ever-changing environment that we've been in thus far. So adaptability has been a big piece, but just being really resilient to whatever changes come our way. And just being dedicated to that end product and really to each other to make sure that the team gets through what we need to.
When your team was nominated for this award, Unifi's partnership with WestJet was called out as a particular strength. And between the rigors of this most recent Canadian winter to one of the busiest summers in air travel, what were some of the biggest challenges for Unifi YYC's new operation, and how were you guys able to overcome some of those challenges?
I think the largest thing, 60-day turnaround from award to being live in Calgary. And obviously, like I said previously, that it's so impactful to so many people. We really had to get it right. So, one of the pieces that was obviously tricky was just getting the proper amount of team members on board. So we were pretty lucky to have a dedicated startup team supporting us out of the US that basically lived in Canada for months and months and months. Really probably contributed more to the bottom line of that airport hotel than anyone ever has. And really connected with the local teams was the biggest piece. So one was building up the team and making sure that we had the right people in the right spots. But the largest, the biggest challenge that was really out of our control was the GSE supply chain. Obviously coming out of the pandemic, a lot of air travel really coming back. That revenge travel that we all talk about was obviously hitting pretty hard, and timelines to get GSE was pretty challenging. So a big shout out to our GSE team at Unifi. They moved mountains to get things into station, but obviously we didn't have everything we needed. So there was a lot of moving parts around, partnering with WestJet a lot. Something as key as our tow barless operation, a lot of aircraft movement in Calgary, being able to use the customer's equipment So that partnership that you mentioned in that intro there was really the big piece that made us successful and be able to overcome a lot of those challenges.
You mentioned the 60-day window there to get up and fully operational. How does that compare to maybe a more traditional startup?
I mean, it's you want to give each other as much notice as possible for sure. I think with this one, it was the risk around getting closer into the Christmas season. The previous one in station certainly didn't go as planned, so really wanted to make sure that the guests of WestJet had the best team on the ground to support them going into that winter season, and really earn some of that trust back. And so yeah, typically contracts end for various reasons, but they're always typically quicker rather than longer. But certainly 60 days with, I think it was 300 motorized pieces of equipment, another 500 pieces approximately of non-motorized equipment. Our team size is just under 900 now. So it was a lot of moving pieces. So 60 days was definitely a feat for this size of station startup. But certainly smaller ones, it's a bit easier to do. So now we're kind of Unifi. We're definitely looking at other contracts, going, oh, we could probably do that in 30 days. Just knowing what we did in Calgary and how well it went.
You alluded to being a good partner with WestJet and serving those serving them as your airline customer. I understand that Unifi and WestJet have worked together to host some safety events, even social things like holiday gatherings, other professional functions like joint working sessions. With these sorts of things, as an example, can you share one or two more instances of events that you held and how they helped improve operations in Calgary?
Yeah, I mean the partnership really with WestJet is what makes us different. It's I was a longtime WestJetter. Many people on my team were a longtime WestJetter. So we know who we're supporting on the other side. There's that human element of it, whereas they're not just our customer. They're our friends. They're really our family in a lot of ways. So that partnership is truly everything. So we really have that at a higher management level. And so what we've been trying to do with all of our events is really match what each other are doing. So if WestJet's putting on something, we're always putting up our hand, say, hey, can we join in? Can we collaborate on this? And make sure our teams are working collaboratively. In Calgary, WestJet does the baggage transfer piece. So they still have a team on the ground in Calgary. And so it's very important. Obviously, our teams are side by side at the bottom of those belt loaders, making sure that our guest baggage is getting to where it needs to be, and they need to work as closely as possible and have a good working relationship. So the big idea behind a lot of these events is to make sure that they're seeing each other as a human level, not just a customer and a contractor. It's really, hey, let's share a burger together. Let's sit at the same table. When we first started doing these events, it was very much like, okay, grab the food and then go into their separate kind of crew rooms. And obviously the idea is to talk to each other on a human level. You see each other every day. It's a very high pace environment. You want to get bags on, you want to get bags off, and ultimately everything needs to be safe. And with our footprint in Calgary being so large, we've just tried to make things fun. So, whether that's, pancake breakfast, cooking for the team, Christmas events, we're currently cooking up a safe driving event between WestJet and ourselves at the end of September. So we'll go into that and again have our teams, actually driving together, doing some safe driving courses. Obviously, providing some partnered swag, so we'll have WestJet and Unifi logos on it. And really the messaging behind that is to make sure that people know how far we've come together. We're one team. We'll have an information pamphlet of sorts that, it's hard to look back and go, holy cow, how far we've come. And now it's the little things that we're picking at and going, okay, let's get that perfected. And it might be super challenging to an individual to go, oh my goodness, this is, this always happens, or Unifi always does this, or WestJet always does this. And it's now to kind of reset and go, hey, look at how much we've done together. and ultimately you as the frontline team have done together. We have a great partnership level again at the management level, but truly you're the ones getting the work done. You're the ones working together. Let's celebrate that and level set and go, okay, what really matters, and kind of move forward to really perfect what we're doing in Calgary.
Unifi YYC's award nomination also noted some really extensive training that began immediately after establishing the operation in Calgary. Of course, our listeners could take a look at that article for some real specific examples. But as a leader or as a leadership team, how do you emphasize a strong safety culture with your Calgary teammates?
Yeah, I mean, you're not. If you're not safe, you're nothing. You're not going to be in business. You're not going to be handling aircraft. Yes, aircraft incidents will happen, injuries will happen, but it's what you're doing ahead of that. And coming into this contract, yeah, big shout out to my training team, specifically Ben Giroux, my general manager of safety and training. Him and his team really pushed the limits on what you can do at a station level in terms of training people and getting people caught up. And really, with that training environment, safety is still there. It's truly the only piece there. And so one of the first things that we noted that we needed to get on was kind of any procedural drift that's been happening. We had a large number of incumbents come into our workforce, and we didn't want it to just be that they're swapping hats, putting on a Unifi hat and going on about their day and everything's fine. There was a contract change for a reason, and we needed to make sure that we were doing everything in our power to make sure that it was a safe environment. So, a big piece of that is, the engagement piece. Engaging people in safety is the only way that they're going to understand their impact to safety. And really the execution in that is what's critical, and really tying it back to real events. We're connecting as humans. They're also humans. One of the big kind of spiels I give to our new hire class is hearing protection, for instance, PPE. You get one set of ears. The amount of people that I know through my career that can't hear people properly because they didn't put hearing protection in. My go-to is that engines are very cool. Aircraft engines, their airplanes are magic. They fly through the air. It's crazy. You have these large powered engines, but they come into gate and we get very close to those. And so one, they're loud, and you should be scared of that noise. Not go near that engine. In our industry in Unifi, we've unfortunately seen events where engines come into play to fatalities and injuries, etc. So one, be scared of those engines, but two, it's really the sound that your ears can take. So whether it's at work or at home, you need to protect those ears. Wear your hearing protection. Really the impact to them, because a lot of these rules or SOPs, etc. People are going out there and going, okay, well, does that really matter to me? Why does that matter to me? And in the end, it's your ears. You're going to hear your baby crying if you're might have your wife pretty upset with you if you're not rolling out of bed to go get the kid, but just because you can't hear because you didn't use hearing protection. The same thing with knee pads. I mean, humans aren't meant to go into the bellies of those aircraft. I remember using muscles that I didn't know I had the first time I ever climbed into one. And wear your knee pads. Because again, you're going to kneel down to your little one or your dog or what have you, and you might not be able to get back up, and that's from repetitive, kind of misuse of your body. So do yourself a favor. No job is worth your life or injuring yourself permanently. And so with us, and the safety culture of it is really tying it back to that human level, that this is a job. You have to be safe. There is hundreds of people on these aircraft. There's a full crew that is their living, flying this aircraft, servicing that aircraft, etc. And then you have your coworkers that you're working side by side. You want them to go home the same way they came in, and you should want the same for you. Basically, the golden rule, right? Treat others as you'd like to be treated, and everything should go smoothly after that.
Yeah, staying on this topic of safety, in the article announcing you as the winner, we also discussed how specifically some proactive safety audits were increased, and then as a result, some of the ramp performance incidents decreased. So you talked a little bit about the culture behind some of the safety elements, but can you explain the type of safety training that you require, for new hires specifically, and then maybe some recurring training that helps keep your workers safe while they're out on the ramp?
Yeah, so a pretty rigorous training program. That was obviously one of the things that helped us get into Calgary, and just the way that we keep our training records. There's the kind of classic classroom portions to the training. Again, tying it back to that human level, understanding what's expected of you out there, and then but the real training really is once you're out there. So we have a large team of leaders that are out on the ramp, in the bag rooms, helping train aircraft towing, etc. And it's that on the job piece that's more impactful than really anything, I would say, and doing it the right way. But from there, it's the training is hugely important, and then you go next into the day to day of that. Training's not just done the first day that you get out of class. You do 2 weeks of training. You're signed off to do all these things. It's progressive. So whether it's our ramp leads working through it, or our supervisors, or fellow agents, etc. Reaffirming that policy, or that training piece is what's so important. And so really our biggest allied to training is coaching in the moment, and making sure that people are doing what they need to do to, one, stay safe, and two, make sure that they're following exactly what needs to happen for operational reasons. And then recurrency pieces, which is actually coming up here just before winter, because we'll come up on our 1 year in November. And so we're currently planning that out right now, and obviously a big lift again for our training team to ensure the compliancy piece. So we'll have our team, go through and assess and kind of schedule all that in, and make sure that we're not impacting operations, but at the same time making sure that everyone has all the regulatory training that's there. And then we follow that up with a ton of audits. That coaching in the moment, I think we have kind of blown the socks off a lot of people with how many audits we do. And one of the core values at Unifi is that you're not just doing audits to do audits, you're doing audits to find things. So if your audits don't have findings, something's wrong. Procedural drift, human nature, something's going to happen. You should be finding something on just about every audit. So that's really something that we push our team to really look for, and make sure that we're getting ahead of any of these kind of trends, to make sure that people are staying safe, and that people flying WestJet in Calgary are going to be safe coming in and out.
Another topic that we're talking about all the time in our industry is just new technologies, and the constant updates and introductions of new technology into the ground handling space. And we talked a little bit about Unifi assisting WestJet with the rollout of a new baggage reconciliation system. And we reported in the article that as a result, after training on that and helping get it operational, the team has now recorded a missed bag rate of less than 2 bags per 1,000. So that's one great example to share. But how is your team at YYC adapting to new technologies, and where does the emerging technology help the most with daily ground operations?
The baggage reconciliation piece is obviously huge. That was quite the transition piece. So I'll shout out Caitlin Noble, our baggage manager, or general manager of baggage. Sorry, she obviously put the team through the paces to get that set up. A lot of us that have been around Calgary for a long time, know what an achievement this is to make sure that we have this. I mean, ultimately, I think the biggest piece with technology coming into play with ground handling is, especially through the pandemic, we really lost the trust of the flying public with their baggage. You see the viral videos of people on board trying to fit their luggage on and getting into arguments or fights. One of our partners, Delta, obviously does a really great job with their BRS to show you where your bag is at all times. Hey, your bag's been loaded, etc. So, certainly something that I think every airline wants to see come to fruition, of that trust being brought back to the guest. If I give you this bag, is it going to be there when I get to my destination? Something I tell my new hires is, you might have a great flight or a great check-in experience, etc. But as soon as you get to your destination, your bag's not there, your vacation's ruined. So it's that trust piece, and I think technology plays a huge piece to that, to make sure that they're there for that. The other big technology piece that we've implemented and are still working through is we have a great partnership with Springshot, and so all of our task allocation is done by our dispatch team and sent out to devices that each of our crews have and can kind of change on the fly. So really, that's just the tip of it, and making sure that we're covering tasks, but we have other stations using Springshot for a whole bunch of different things, integrating BRS, for example, into it. In Calgary, we've changed our pre-operational inspections to be on these devices as well, so it's all automated. We can pull dashboards from everything and really see. So we're really trying to move away from paper. Paper is definitely king in the ground handling world still, but we're trying to move away from it and really limit the amount of devices that someone needs to have. We want it to be smart out there. There's enough going on, specifically on the ramp. You're trying to lead a crew to make sure a plane goes out on time. You have a baggage scanner, you have a radio, you might have a phone, you might have another device for Springshot. So really, the integration is probably the biggest piece. And then from there, the data to really look back and improve upon what you've been doing. I think not just in aviation, but a lot of companies have a ton of data and they don't know what to do with it, and or put it into a kind of a thoughtful view. So that's something at Unifi that we're really working hard towards, is to have that view coming over. And only being at Unifi since October of last year myself, but the amount of technology that we put into our daily lives, and the amount of reporting that's just easy to pull up and go, oh, okay, that's why we've been doing that. Because really, without that data, you're not going to be able to get ahead of it. It's the same with the safety culture piece of it, with the audits and pulling those data points out. But I truly think that Unifi's been able to pull those key metrics out to really line up what we need to kind of target next.
A great team is going to be comprised of dedicated people, and I'm sure, with a team of nearly 900 people at YYC, there are several examples of hardworking individuals within your team. But I know Unifi recently shared Mike Walker's story, and for any of our listeners who maybe haven't heard the story themselves, can you share a little bit more about Mike's background and some of his contributions to the team?
Yes. Mike Walker, he's been around a while. He's our most senior employee. Came over from the incumbent, but certainly a familiar face around YYC. Certainly found his happiness and purpose at work. Glad that that's transitioned to being here at Unifi and being one of our strong team members. But yeah, he's been at the airport 25 years, and truly anyone that works with him, they could not imagine the place without him. Quite the character. What's special about Mike is that he lost his arm and his leg. It was in 1976. He was just 3 years old. He was actually hit by a train. So from a disability that could certainly define you, he certainly has not let that happen. He works in our bag room. You wouldn't even know that he has a disability, given his spirit and how he conducts himself, right? Like just the spirit of him, and how everyone kind of gathers behind him. And you may be having a bad day and you look at Mike lifting bags or whatever it is. It's super impressive given what he's faced his entire life. So I think he's definitely one of the few that could, I think, do this job with such a disability. But I think he really appreciates being in that team environment. It goes both ways. Where they're having a bad day, they look at Mike and go, "Okay, yeah, I can get through this," and vice versa. He's one to tell you that he knows that the team believes in him, and if he's having an off day, that's really something that he's not just proving to himself, but also to the team. So no, he's pretty amazing, and he just he gets a lot of joy from helping others and making sure that their baggage is where it needs to be.
Another really impressive aspect from your team's nomination was when some of the KPIs that were called out that your team has achieved while working with WestJet. Which of these positive metrics does your team take the most pride in?
I mean, obviously safety for sure. As I've mentioned before, it's your metrics truly don't mean anything if you're not being safe. That's super impressive, but really how we've been able to turn around, missed baggage, I think is a big one. Previously working at the airline and understanding the impact and talking to guests face to face of where their bags are, and it's really hard to earn that trust back. So the way that we're performing is very impactful to so many, and it seems like just something so standard. Well, your bag should just make it. It should just go there. I recall talking to a guest at one point, and they said, "I know I saw the bag go down the carousel or down the conveyor in Edmonton. Where is it?" And it's like, pick your battles, I guess. But I chose to kind of explain the situation and how these things work, and really just what the flying public doesn't see, and how complex these systems are, et cetera, and what can happen. It's certainly not a guarantee your bag's going to make it every single time. But what's so impressive and what I'm so proud of the team for is being able to do that. But then on the other side of it, there was, coming from the airline and knowing the challenges previously, just overall on-time performance. Something you really take for granted. Certainly going through the pandemic, coming out of it, the travel really building back up. That's been something that was really challenging, and we still have challenges. Don't get me wrong, but super proud of the team to be able to go through that and have super impressive KPIs. I mean, we just finished August with 99% on our Head Start program. And, with Calgary being such a large hub for WestJet, it's, you'll see those planes 2 or 3 times throughout the day. So if we're not setting that aircraft up for success, it's really going to hinder us later in the day. And so it's been really cool to see the mind shift of getting people on board to understand how important these head starts are. So Dave Smythe, general manager of Ramp, his team is all over that for sure, to make sure that those planes are going out on time. We're going to take a delay on it later in the day if we don't launch it appropriately first thing in the morning. And then I think the last metric that it's a bit trickier to kind of gauge, but there's obviously a lot of aircraft movement in Calgary, whether to the hangars, gate to gate, parking pads, etc. It's all managed by my general manager of operations and towing, Jaden Boss. Does a really great job of turning that team around. There was a lot of woes around aircraft movement, and what the flying public might not know is that your plane doesn't always just land, go into gate, and then turn. It goes in for maintenance. It's going, this gate can only take this type of departure, so we're moving things around. So really, just the overall performance has me super proud of the team. We're certainly not perfect yet. We're going to keep striving for it, but certainly being able to turn things around on safety, overall performance, certainly missed baggage. Those are people's things. And then aircraft towing to make sure that WestJet Tech Ops is able to work on the aircraft they plan to work on. So we have such an effect on so many teams. And again, we bring that into our front line to make sure that they understand that it's not just them in that moment. It's guests, it's other teams at WestJet, it's other airlines. If we hold up a gate, it's the airport authority, et cetera. So it's super important that we're proud of how far we've come, but we certainly know that there's room for improvement.
Yeah, and with that opportunity to continuously improve, obviously, your airline customer and partner in WestJet will have certain metrics or KPIs they want you to achieve, and you have, I'm sure, Unifi has some internal ones. Can you talk a little bit maybe about how those two, the internal versus external metrics, how they compare or differ, and what your method for evaluating both looks like?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly pretty hard on ourselves to make sure that we're doing right by the customer. So certainly in the safety aspect of it, something that even the customer would say, oh, that's minor. We take incredibly seriously internally, and something happens at one station, you're going to know about it at all the stations. And obviously, with how large Unifi is, you learn a lot from each other, and that's just the same with any KPI, really. We're held to a high standard. I think our COO, Greg Kennedy, does a great job of really leading the operational teams to ensure that everyone's performance is going to be put out there and on display, and we're going to learn from each other. And yeah, ultimately, you answer for your performance. And so I think there's that right balance of pressure throughout our company, as well as that grace of when things don't go well. Let's look into what happened and kind of move forward. And so KPI wise, if the customer's happy, then we're typically happy. Obviously, same can be said about retail, I guess, but it's so true. So with how many airlines we handle and how many different customers we have, everyone's going to have a different target for us, and station by station, et cetera. So we typically keep to those, but internally, we'll hit target at WestJet, let's say, and then internally we're saying, hey, like let's bump it up to another 2%, et cetera. So, but yeah, that's all on display. We do a monthly call of how everyone across the system's doing, and kind of airing out the dirty laundry, or the successes, because it's super important to obviously not just focus on the negatives, but to celebrate what we have done as a team across the board. And Unifi is certainly great at doing that.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the case, as you guys were a worthy winner of the 2024 Ground Support Team of the Year Award. And Connor, I just want to thank you one more time for taking some time out of your busy schedule and helping us highlight your team's achievements. So I'd just like to congratulate you and your team at YYC once more for the overall excellence and early achievements you've had with this station.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Like I said, we're nowhere near perfect, but we have some great leaders. My direct leader, JJ, as well as Josh, up to Greg, Gotham, etc. We have so many awesome people at Unifi. It's been really amazing to join this family, and as a previous WestJetter, to be able to really kind of have the best of both worlds, still work with my previous past, and make them proud, as well as our internal team. But really our a big thanks to my leadership team, supervisors, ramp leads, crew chiefs, you name it. Everyone kind of plays into that, duty managers, general managers. Super lucky to have the team that we have. Can't forget about our HR and administrative teams as well. So Serena and Alina, they're certainly, really holding us together, and we have so much support throughout really the Unifi team. So no, truly a privilege, quite a surprise. We've been in business in Calgary since November of last year, so coming up to the 1 year mark. And couldn't be prouder of this team. And thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me on, and thank you to you and your colleagues for the award. It's quite brilliant. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and it is much deserved. I want to thank you for listening to this special edition of the Aviation Pros podcast. If you'd like additional information about ground handling services and the latest ground support equipment, you can subscribe to Ground Support Worldwide magazine and sign up for our daily e-newsletters. And as always, please continue to visit AviationPros.com.